For years, Omni Containment Systems has been helping food service providers protect their clients' rooftops from the damaging effects of ventilator grease discharge. Omni's grease gutter has proven to be the easiest, most effective, most affordable answer to rooftop grease containment on the market today. Recently, Omni introduced two new containment systems to its line of rooftop protection products, the high-capacity grease gutter and the grease gutter sidekick. The high-capacity grease gutter is based on the same simple concept as the original system, but with the capacity to catch and contain much larger volumes of grease. This unit is ideal for high-volume steakhouses, chain restaurants, or other restaurants with heavy grease production. The grease gutter sidekick is a versatile system that can go under a wall mount fan or on a low grease production fan that does not require full 360-degree protection, or special applications where the standard or high-capacity systems will not fit. The high-capacity grease gutter is designed for maximum protection. It's also easy to install. The entire system consists of 4 trough lengths, 4 corners, 4 corner caps, 12 pad clips, 16 self-tapping stainless steel No. 2 Phillips head screws, and a tube of sealant. The pad components include 2 black corner pads labeled No. 1, 3 gray plastic-backed side and rear lengths labeled No. 2, 2 gray plastic-backed front corner pads labeled No. 3, 1 gray plastic-backed front length labeled No. 4, and 1 gray unbacked front top pad labeled No. 5. The tools you will need to install the grease gutter are a drill with a No. 2 Phillips head bit, a sawzall, a level, a pair of scissors, a tape measure, and a caulk gun. The high-capacity grease gutter comes in standard 36-inch lengths. If you include the desired fan curbing dimensions when you place your order, Omni will custom cut your system for an additional fee. Once you are on the rooftop, open the box and remove the gutter lengths and corner sections. Place the lengths and corners around the base of the fan. If necessary, cut the trough lengths to the width of the fan curbing. Use a suitable saw or sawzall for cutting PVC. On occasion, it may be necessary to mount the grease gutter underneath obstructions, such as electrical switch boxes or a hinge kit. Remember, the main objective is to mount the unit in a location that will catch the flow of grease from the fan and keep the grease from reaching the roof. If you have to mount the grease gutter below an obstruction, it is essential to run a bead of sealant at the top of the gutter flashing. Before you begin the installation, it's important to thoroughly clean the fan curb so that the sealant will adhere properly. Now it's time to assemble the first trough and corner. Slide a trough length into a corner until it stops. Then, apply a generous amount of sealant to the back of this assembly. Hold the assembly together and tuck it under the fan base. Once you have it positioned, fasten the first self-tapping screw through the overlapping areas of the trough and corner. Next, level the trough and fasten it to the fan curb, leaving at least 8 inches for mounting the next corner. Now, assemble another trough and corner, making sure the trough makes contact with the very edge of the corner. Again, apply sealant to the back of the entire assembly. Slide the corner into the trough that is fastened to the fan curb and make sure it's all the way in. Place a screw in the overlapping corner section to hold it in place. Then level the assembly and screw it to the fan curb, again, leaving at least 8 inches for the next corner. Continue this process with the remaining troughs and corners until the grease gutter is completely installed, level to the curb under the fan base. Don't worry about applying too much sealant on the trough flashing. The sealant will ensure that no grease will seep behind the unit after installation. Also, be sure that all the screws are evenly spaced around the unit so that thermal expansion is reduced. After all the troughs and corner sections are installed around the fan, you may want to use the remaining sealant to seal off the drainage holes and seams under the heaviest discharge areas of the fan. This will help to prevent leaks. However, do not seal off all the drainage holes because the system will not drain properly. Now it's time to install the pads. First, take the two black corner pads, labeled number 1, and tuck them into the rear two corners of the grease gutter, opposite the main discharge area, which is usually at the spout. These pads can be installed with either side up because they have no backing. Their purpose is to allow precipitation to drain out while keeping the grease contained. Next, take the 3 gray plastic back pads labeled number 2 and cut them to the length of the troughs. Tuck these pads in the sides and rear of the troughs. Be sure the plastic backing faces down. These pads should be overlapping the black corner pads. Next, take the 2 gray plastic back corner pads labeled number 3 and tuck them into the front 2 corners of the grease gutter. Again, be sure that the plastic backing faces down. These corner pads should overlap the number 2 pads. Now, take the gray plastic backed pad labeled number 4 and cut it to the length of the trough that is beneath the main discharge side of the fan. Tuck this pad in with plastic backing facing down. This pad should overlap the number 3 corner pads. Take the remaining pad labeled number 5 and cut it to the same length as pad number 4. Place pad number 5 directly over pad number 4. Pad number 5 has a rough side and a smooth side. Install pad number 5 with the smooth side up. This pad helps to protect the system from the UV rays of the sun. After the pads have been installed, take the 4 corner caps and slide them under the receiving grooves on the trough lengths. Then, insert the support arms into the notches cut in the corners. Then, take the 12 pad clips and install them around the entire system. Be sure that the pads are secured by the clips and not just shoved down into the troughs. The pad clips have been designed to fit very tight. Their purpose is to keep the pads in place and to make the system more rigid and stable. Your high-capacity grease gutter is now in place. With pad replacements at proper intervals, it will provide your client's roof with years of grease protection. The original grease gutter is designed for 360-degree protection in low to medium grease discharge applications. It's also the perfect solution for tight situations where the high-capacity unit won't fit. The components include 4 trough sections, 4 corner sections, 4 corner caps, and 16 Phillips head number 2 self-tapping screws. You will also get 4 filter pads and zip ties. Again, if you measure your fan before placing your order, Omni will custom cut the trough sections and pads to size. If you order the standard kit, you may need to do the cutting yourself. The installation process for the original grease gutter is the same as the high-capacity unit. However, the filter pads are different. To install the pads, simply stuff the pads into the bottom of the troughs. Make sure the pads touch to make continuous contact around the entire system. Be careful here, because gaps may allow grease to get past the filter. If Omni custom cuts your order, the pads will fit snug. If you need to cut your own, simply twist at the desired length, secure a zip tie, and cut the excess pad about 2 inches from the zip tie. It's as easy as that. Once the pads are snugly in place, you are ready to install the 4 corner caps. Slide the corner cap into the grooves of the corner, with the supports setting in the recesses cast in the corner. Repeat this step for the other 3 corners, and you're done. Servicing the grease gutter is easy. Just replace the pads as needed. Again, we recommend that you replace the pads each time the fan is cleaned. Remove the 4 corner caps and pull the used pads through the opening at the corners. Then, stuff the new pads into the bottom of the troughs. Remember, don't allow any gaps between the pads. If you need to cut the pads to size, it's as simple as a twist, tie, and snip. Replace the corner caps and you're done. It's important to use genuine Omni containment filter pads. They're designed to absorb fat-based grease while repelling water from rain or melting snow. You'll notice that the trough section has a gutter at the bottom to channel water away. The pad is also scientifically designed for UV protection, so it will not degrade even in the most severe conditions. The grease gutter sidekick has been designed to contain grease in situations where 360-degree protection is not necessary or possible, such as low discharge fans or wall-mounted ventilators. The sidekick comes pre-assembled at 24 inches. Custom sizes are available. The The sidekick uses the same filter media as the high-capacity grease gutter, with the same grease absorbency and UV protection capabilities as those custom-engineered pads. Installing the sidekick is very easy, as it comes pre-assembled with pads already in place. The first step of the installation is to prep the surface area that the sidekick is to be mounted to by thoroughly cleaning the contact surface so that the sealant will adhere. Next, apply the supplied sealant to the rear of the flashing as shown. Be sure to use enough sealant to ensure that no grease will get behind the sidekick after installation. Once the sealant is applied, level and position the unit beneath the grease source and fasten it to the surface using the stainless steel self-tapping fasteners provided. If you bring a cordless screw gun with a No. 2 Phillips bit instead of a manual Phillips screwdriver, this step will be much faster and easier. If you are installing the sidekick on a wall-mounted ventilator, the installation process is much the same. Thoroughly clean the surface where the sidekick is to be mounted. Apply the sealant to the rear of the flashing. Level and place the sidekick beneath the area of fan grease discharge. Then simply fasten it to the surface using the supplied self-tapping screws. After the sidekick has been installed, be sure to monitor the unit so you can determine how often the pads need to be changed. Even if the pads are not fully saturated by the time your regularly scheduled kitchen exhaust cleaning arrives, we strongly recommend that you change the pads immediately after your exhaust system is cleaned. To change the pads, remove the 2 pad clips and slide the saturated pads out. The bag that contains your new replacement pads makes a great disposal bag for the old pads. Once the saturated pads are removed, wipe the sidekick so that it's free of any grease and other residue. Then you can install the new pads. There are 2 pads to each sidekick. Make sure to install them in the proper sequence. The first pad to go in, labeled No. 2, is the larger of the 2 and has a plastic backing on one side. Install it with the plastic backing facing down. The second pad, labeled No. 5, is installed on top of the first. Make sure the rough side faces down, leaving the UV repellent mesh side facing up. After the pads are properly installed, your last step is to attach the pad clips. You are now done servicing your sidekick. It's as fast and as simple as can be. To reorder, contact Omni Containment Systems at 1-877-2-CONTAIN. That's 1-877-226-6824. If you have a few moments, please visit our website to see some of the other products that may provide protection for your restaurant clients and provide a great source of additional income for you.